Ethan, I can't do this anymore. Her voice trembled, but the words were sharp enough to cut through the rain hammering the window behind her. I stared at her suitcase. Do what? This, she said, waving a hand around my small apartment. Struggling, waiting for something that may never happen. My chest tightened. Emily, you knew it would take time. The startup's barely a year old. She shook her head, tears glistening. I'm tired of promises. I'm tired of believing. Daniel offered me stability, a real future. Daniel? I whispered. The name burned my throat. You're serious? She avoided my eyes. He loves me, Ethan. He can give me things you can't. I laughed bitterly. Like what? A mansion. A new car? Is that love to you now? Don't twist it, she said, her voice breaking. I waited 3 years. I believed in you. But belief doesn't pay bills. So you're leaving me for money. No, she whispered. I'm leaving because I don't see hope anymore. I took a step closer.
Hope? Emily, every night I've worked until my hands shook.
Every dream I've chased was for us. She looked up, eyes soft with pity. I know. And that's what hurts most. Pity. The one thing I never wanted from her. Daniel's world isn't yours, I said quietly. You'll hate it. I'll survive, she murmured. You'll regret it. Maybe, she said, voice trembling. But not as much as I regret watching my life slip away. I felt something snap inside me. So that's it? You throw away everything we built because he has more zeros in his account? She flinched. Don't make me the villain. Then what are you? I demanded. The hero who gave up halfway? She turned, tears falling freely now. Don't do this, Ethan. Don't make it harder. It's already hard, I said. You just made it unbearable. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. The clock ticked. The rain grew louder. She reached for the doorknob, but I caught her wrist. Look at me, Emily. Her eyes met mine, filled with something I couldn't name. Fear, guilt, maybe both. You said you loved me, I whispered. I did. And now? Her lip quivered. Now I'm choosing myself. The words crushed me more than any slap could. I let go of her hand. Then go, she hesitated, biting her lip. Ethan, what? You'll understand one day, I forced a laugh. No, I won't, because I'd never do this to you. She blinked back tears, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway. The sound of her heels faded, each click echoing like a nail in a coffin. When the door finally shut, the silence screamed. I sank to the floor, staring at the dent in the wall we made when we first moved in, the day we argued about where to hang the picture. We laughed then. I thought we'd last forever. My phone buzzed. A message from Ryan flashed, pitch meeting tomorrow. Don't be late. I stared at it blankly. Tomorrow still existed, even when tonight had ended everything. I grabbed my jacket and stepped out into the storm. The rain hit my face, cold and cruel. I walked aimlessly through the city streets, headlights slicing through the mist. Every face looked like hers for a second too long. By the time I reached the bridge, my hands were trembling. I leaned against the railing, breathing hard. She left, I whispered to myself. Just like that, a drunk man passing by laughed. They all do, mate. Maybe he was right. Maybe that's life. People leave when it gets hard, but I couldn't accept that. I pulled out my phone and opened the note I'd been keeping for years. Dream list, goals with Emily. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it. The world didn't end, but something inside me did. I went home drenched, sat at my desk and turned on the flickering laptop. My reflection stared back from the dark screen, tired eyes, cracked lips, and empty stare. I'll make you regret it, I muttered. Not with hate. With success, the words surprised even me. They sounded colder than I felt, but they lit a fire in my chest. I opened my project files and started working again. The code blurred through the tears I refused to admit were there. Every line I typed felt like stitching a wound. Hours passed. The rain stopped. Dawn crept through the window, painting the room pale gold. Her mug still sat on the counter, lipstick faintly marking the rim. I picked it up, stared at it, then placed it gently in the trash. I won't chase ghosts, I whispered. I looked around the apartment, half empty, yet full of memories. Her laugh still echoed in the corners, her perfume lingered on the couch. But beneath it all, something new was growing. Silence that didn't hurt as much as it used to. Maybe that's what freedom feels like. Pain without noise. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Ryan. You coming or not? Investors don't wait. I typed back, I'll be there. Then I looked at the mirror and said, Get up, Ethan. For the first time, I didn't sound broken. I grabbed my keys, took one last look at the door she'd walked through, and smiled faintly. One day, Emily, I whispered, you'll see me again. And when you do, I'll be someone you can't afford to lose. The morning air hit my face as I stepped outside. The city was alive again, but I felt different, empty. Yes, but also alive. Maybe love ends, but purpose begins where heartbreak leaves you bleeding. And as I walked toward the new day, I realized something simple yet powerful. She took my heart, but she also gave me a reason to rise. That was the day she walked away, and the day I started becoming someone else. Dude, you look like death. Ryan leaned against my doorframe, holding 2 cups of coffee. I feel worse, I muttered, slumped over my desk. Surrounded by unpaid bills and rejection emails, he walked in, set 1 cup beside me. You've got to stop doing this. When's the last time you slept? I don't remember. Or ate. Does instant noodles count? He sighed. Ethan, it's been 6 months since she left. You can't keep punishing yourself. I looked up at him, eyes heavy. I'm not punishing myself, I'm rebuilding. By staying up all night and coding until your fingers shake? If that's what it takes, I said. I'm not going to be the guy she pitied. He pulled out a chair and sat across from me. You know what your problem is? You're still letting her win. I don't think about her. Liar, I smirked faintly. Fine, I think about her sometimes. But not because I miss her. I think about the promise I made that night. To make her regret it? No, I said quietly. To make myself unrecognizable. Ryan studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right, then let's build something worth losing sleep for. I turned the laptop toward him. The app's almost ready. If I can find someone willing to believe in it, we're set. He took a sip of coffee. You'll find someone. You always do. Not lately, I muttered, scrolling through another rejection email. They all say the same thing. Too risky, too small, too early. Ryan leaned back. Then we find one person crazy enough to see what you see. I stared at the screen, the code blurring through my tired eyes. You think that person exists? He grinned. You're looking at him. I laughed for the first time in weeks. You're broke, Ryan. Yeah, but I've got belief and it's free. That night, we worked until dawn. The walls echoed with our arguments, our laughter, our silent determination. Days turned into weeks. I sold my car to keep the lights on, moved into a smaller apartment. Every cent went into the startup. Are we crazy? I asked one night as we sat on the floor eating cold pizza. Completely, he said, grinning. But crazy built empires. Or destroyed them. He shrugged. Guess we'll find out which one we are. I smiled faintly. You should have been a motivational speaker. Please, he said. Those guys wear suits. I'm just your idiot friend keeping you alive. But his words stuck. Somewhere beneath exhaustion and fear, hope flickered again. Then came the email that changed everything. Subject, meeting request, Carter Ventures. I blinked twice to make sure it was real. Ryan. I yelled, get in here! He ran out of the kitchen, a fork in his hand. What? Read this. I turned the screen toward him. He scanned the email, then looked at me. You're kidding. I'm not. He wants to meet tomorrow morning. Mr. Carter? The Mr. Carter? The one and only, he laughed, nearly choking on his food. Oh man, you did it. This is it, Ethan. Don't jinx it, I warned, though my heart was racing. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every failure, every word Emily had said. Daniel can give me a life you never will. I whispered to the dark. Watch me. Morning came fast. I put on my only decent suit, the same one from our first investor pitch 2 years ago. The fabric was worn, but it still fit. Ryan clapped my shoulder. You ready? I've never been readier, he grinned. Go remind them who you are. The office of Carter Ventures was intimidating. Glass walls, leather chairs, success dripping from every corner. I sat across from Mr. Carter, a man in his 50s with calm eyes and a voice that carried quiet authority. So, Ethan Cole, he said, scanning my proposal. Tell me why this matters. I leaned forward. because people like me built their dreams from nothing. And sometimes all they need is one platform to make their voice heard. He looked at me over his glasses. You've failed before? Many times. And why will this one be different? I met his gaze. Because this time I'm not afraid of losing. For a moment, he said nothing. Then a slow smile spread across his face. Confidence without arrogance. I like that. He closed the folder. All right, Mr. Cole, you'll have your funding. I blinked. Sorry, what? You heard me. I'm taking the risk. Don't make me regret it. I won't, I said, almost breathless. As I walked out of the building, the city air felt lighter, sharper, alive again. I called Ryan immediately. He answered with a shout. Don't tell me... He said yes. Ryan screamed loud enough to make me laugh. I told you someone would see it. I smiled, staring up at the sky. Yeah, someone finally did. For the first time in months, the weight on my chest lifted. I didn't know if it was luck or fate, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't broken anymore. I was just getting started. Morning, boss. Jake's voice pulled me out of my thoughts as I reviewed the quarterly reports. Morning, I said, glancing up from my desk. What's on the schedule? He scrolled through his tablet. New assistant starting today. HR said she's got solid experience. You'll like her. Great. What's her name? Emily Hart. The pen slipped from my hand. Sorry, what? Jake looked up, confused. Emily Hart, problem? I forced a smile. No, just familiar name, he nodded casually. She'll be here in 10. As soon as he left, I leaned back in my chair. My chest felt tight, as if time had suddenly folded on itself. Emily Hart. The name I'd buried under years of silence. I told myself it couldn't be her. There must be hundreds of Emilys. Still, my pulse wouldn't slow down. When the knock came, I straightened, trying to look composed. Come in. The door opened. And there she was. Emily froze at the threshold, her eyes widening the moment they met mine. I saw it. Recognition, disbelief, and something else, shame. Ethan? She whispered. I stood slowly, forcing my voice to stay calm. Miss Hart, I assume? Her throat moved as she swallowed. Yes, sir. Please sit. She hesitated before stepping in, clutching her folder like a shield. Her hair was shorter, her makeup lighter, but the tremor in her hands, that was familiar. Jake reappeared behind her. All set, boss? Yes, I said, not looking away from her. Thank you, Jake. I'll handle the rest. He nodded and closed the door. Silence. I gestured to the chair across from me. Sit down, Emily, she obeyed, carefully lowering herself. Long time, I said. Her voice was barely a whisper. 3 years. Feels longer, I replied. She looked down, avoiding my eyes. I didn't know it was your company. I let out a quiet laugh. Neither did I, apparently, until 5 minutes ago. I wouldn't have applied if I knew. I believe that. Her hands clenched in her lap. If this makes you uncomfortable, I can... No, I cut her off. You're here because you need the job. And I'm not the man who fires people for history. She looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes. You've changed. People do, I said. Especially after being left behind. Her face fell. Ethan, I interrupted. We're not going back there. This is a workplace now, she nodded slowly. Understood. I picked up the file from my desk, flipping through it even though I wasn't reading. Your resume says you worked for Hayes Group, her voice faltered. I did. With Daniel Hayes? Yes. How'd that go? Her lips parted, but no words came out. The silence spoke for her. I nodded. I see. Things didn't end well, she said finally. Guess he's not offering stability anymore, I muttered. She flinched, but I didn't apologize. Look, I said, closing the folder. I don't want this to be awkward. You'll report directly to me for now. Keep it professional. We'll both survive. I can do that, she said softly. Good. She stood, clutching her bag. Thank you for not turning me away. I'm not cruel, Emily, I said. Just cautious. She nodded and walked toward the door. Her hand was on the knob when I said, You should know. This company was built from nothing. She paused. I know. No, you don't, I said quietly. You were part of the reason I started. Her fingers froze on the handle. Ethan, I shook my head. Go, we've got work to do. The door closed behind her, leaving the faint trace of her perfume, a scent I hadn't smelled since the night she walked away. I exhaled, leaning back, staring at the ceiling. Of all the people in the city, it had to be her. Jake knocked again, popping his head in. Everything good? Fine, I said. She seemed nervous. New job jitters, I lied. He grinned. You sure? Looked like she saw a ghost, I smirked. Maybe she did. When he left, I stood and walked to the window. The skyline stretched before me, tall, proud, shining. Everything I'd built stood as proof that I had survived her, and now she was back, sitting just a few desks away. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. Later that afternoon, I walked through the main office. Employees greeted me as I passed. My eyes found her immediately, sitting quietly, typing, trying not to look at me. Jake leaned over and whispered, "She's a fast worker." "Good hire." "Yeah," I said. "Looks like it." When our eyes met for a split second, she looked away fast, pretending to read an email. Ryan called me soon after. "Heard about your new assistant. News travels fast. You okay?" "I'm fine, Ethan," he said, voice serious now. "Don't let old wounds reopen. You've got too much to lose." "I know what I'm doing." "Do you?" I hesitated, then sighed. "Honestly, I have no idea," he chuckled softly. "That's the Ethan I know. Just don't forget why you started this company when it wasn't to prove anything to her." "Maybe not," I said. But seeing her face today, it reminded me of the night she left. And it reminded me why I had to become this man. Ryan paused. "So what now?" "Now," I said, "I do what I've always done. Stay calm, stay focused, and make her realize what she lost without saying a word." He laughed. "You're impossible." "Maybe," I said, smiling faintly. "But it keeps life interesting." After the call, I glanced toward her desk again. She was still working, quietly determined, pretending I didn't exist. Funny how time changes everything. 3 years ago, she walked away from me without looking back. Now she couldn't meet my eyes. I turned back to my office, the door closing softly behind me. "Welcome back to my world, Emily," I whispered. "Let's see how you handle it this time." "Morning, Ethan." Olivia's voice came from the doorway, calm and warm, like always. "Morning," I replied without looking up from the reports. "You didn't go home again, did you?" "I had work," she crossed her arms. "You had choices," I sighed. "And I chose this." She leaned against the desk. "You know, most people leave the office before sunrise. Most people don't have ghosts working 3 doors down." She tilted her head. "Emily?" I didn't answer. She smiled faintly. "You don't hide it well." "I'm not trying to hide anything," I said. "Then why do you tense up every time she walks in?" "Habit. Lies." I finally looked up. "You're bold for someone who works in marketing." "Someone has to tell the CEO when he's pretending." Her tone was playful, but her eyes weren't. I appreciated her honesty, even if I didn't admit it. Before I could respond, there was a knock. Emily stood in the doorway clutching a folder. "Mr. Cole," she said softly, "the client revisions are ready." "Leave them there," I said without looking up. She hesitated. "Do you need me to—" "No, that's all." She placed the folder on the desk, her hands trembling slightly. For a second, I caught her reflection in the glass window. Pale, quiet, small. "Thank you," I said flatly. She nodded. "Of course." When she left, Olivia raised an eyebrow. "You don't even look at her." "It's easier that way." "Easier for you," she said. "Not for her. She made her choice. And now you're punishing her for it." "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. "I'm just not saving her either." Olivia watched me for a moment, then smiled faintly. "You know what that sounds like?" "What?" "Someone who still cares." I didn't answer. She took the hint and left. The rest of the day passed in silence. Emily avoided me. I avoided her. Every word between us felt like stepping on broken glass. Sharp, painful, deliberate. By evening, the office was empty except for the hum of the air conditioner. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. The door opened again. "Still here?" It was Emily. I looked up. "Apparently. You should rest." I almost laughed. "Funny hearing that from you." Her gaze dropped. I didn't mean, I know what you meant, she hesitated. I just thought you've changed. I had to. Her voice softened. You seem colder. Cold keeps me alive. Warmth used to do that, she whispered. The words hit harder than I expected. Emily, I said quietly. Why are you really here? She blinked. I told you, work. No, here, in my office. After hours, she hesitated. I just wanted to thank you. For not firing me. For giving me a chance. I looked at her carefully. You think this is forgiveness? She shook her head. No, I don't expect that. Good, I said. Because you won't get it. Her eyes glistened, but she stayed silent. I turned my chair toward the window. You can go now. She didn't move. Ethan, do you hate me? I exhaled slowly. No. Then why does it feel like you do? Because hate would be easier, I said. At least hate means I stopped caring. She swallowed hard. I'm sorry, I laughed quietly. You've said that before? No, she said. Not like this. The air between us thickened. The silence felt heavier than the night outside. She turned to leave. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Miss Hart, I said, deliberately formal. When she was gone, I sat there for a long time, staring at the city lights. Every word she said replayed in my mind, mixing with memories I didn't want. The way she used to laugh. The way she used to say my name like it meant something. My phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. Still at work? Go home. You can't fight ghosts forever, I typed back. They keep finding me. Her reply came fast. Then maybe you should stop standing still. I smiled faintly, shaking my head. She was right, of course. But what she didn't understand was that silence had its own gravity. The more I ignored Emily, the more she filled the space around me. The next morning, I walked in early. Emily was already there, sorting documents. You're early, I said. She looked startled. I couldn't sleep. We're keeping you up? Memories, she said quietly. I paused. That's a dangerous habit, she met my eyes. You would know. Her honesty caught me off guard. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said, You've learned how to fight back. I've learned how to survive. I nodded slowly. Good, she smiled sadly. You taught me that. Before I could answer, Jake walked in, breaking the tension. Morning, boss. Morning, Emily? Morning, she said quickly, turning back to her desk. Jake handed me a report. New client wants you in the London meeting next week. Set it up, I said. He left. Whistling as he went, Emily kept her eyes on the papers, but her hands shook again. I watched her for a moment, then turned to leave. Emily, she looked up. Yes? Don't stay late tonight. I wasn't planning to. Good, I said, heading for the door. Because tomorrow everything changes, she frowned. What do you mean? You'll see. Her confusion followed me out of the room, and for the first time in years, I wasn't sure who was haunting whom anymore. The office was quiet that night, too quiet. Everyone had gone home except me. I liked it that way. Silence helped me think, or maybe it just helped me pretend I wasn't thinking about her. I stepped out of my office to grab a file, and that's when I heard it, a voice, sharp and trembling, coming from the conference room. No, Mom! I don't care about money anymore. Emily. I froze near the door, my hand hovering over the handle. You don't get it, she continued, her tone breaking. He left me, all right? Daniel left me with nothing! My stomach tightened. Daniel. The man she chose over me. I heard her sniffle. You told me to choose security. You said love doesn't pay bills. Well, now I have neither. Her mother's muffled voice came through the phone, cold and distant. I can't come home, Emily whispered. Because I can't face you. Because you'll say I deserved it. The silence that followed hurt more than her words. I took a step back, trying not to make a sound, but the floor creaked. Hello? She called out. I pushed the door open. You should lock the door if you're planning to yell at your mother. She spun around, wiping her tears. Mr. Cole, I didn't know you were still here. I could say the same to you. She straightened, trying to compose herself. I was just finishing up. By arguing with your mother? Her jaw tightened. You were listening? Hard not to, I said quietly. You weren't exactly whispering. She looked down, embarrassed. It's personal. Everything between us seems to be. That's not fair, she said softly. I leaned against the table. Fair left the building 3 years ago, she sighed, defeated. You think I haven't paid for that mistake? I think life is finally collecting the bill, I said. Her eyes flashed. You really enjoy this, don't you? Watching me fall. No, I said. But I won't pretend it doesn't feel like karma. She looked away, voice cracking. You don't understand. Then help me, I said. Make me understand. She sat down slowly, her shoulders shaking. When I left you, I thought I was walking into something stable. Daniel promised me everything. Security, comfort, a future, and... He lied, she whispered. When his company started falling apart, so did he. He blamed me for his failures. And when things got bad, he walked away, just like I did. The irony hit both of us at once. She laughed bitterly. Guess that's karma, right? I didn't answer. I thought I could handle it, she continued, voice trembling. But after he left, no one would hire me. Everyone knew me as Daniel's shadow. I became disposable. I sat across from her, silent. My mother still thinks I should have stayed with him, she said, wiping her tears. She doesn't care what he did. As long as he was rich. Sounds familiar, I murmured. She looked up sharply. Don't, Ethan. What? Don't turn this into a lecture. I'm not, I said. Just observing the pattern. Her lips trembled. I already hate myself enough. You don't need to add to it. The words silenced me. She stared at the floor. I know what I did to you. I know I broke something that couldn't be fixed. But when Daniel left, I finally understood what it feels like to be thrown away. I leaned forward. Then why stay here? You could leave, start fresh, she shook her head. Because this is all I have left. This job, this office, it's the only place that doesn't remind me of him. And what does it remind you of? She hesitated. You. That word hit like a knife. I stood abruptly, trying to hide the rush of emotion. You shouldn't say that. Why not? It's true. Because I can't be the reason you stay. She looked at me through wet lashes. You already are. The air between us grew heavy. Emily, I said slowly, you need to stop looking for redemption here. I'm not looking for redemption, she said. I'm looking for strength. And working here, it reminds me that you found yours. I stared at her. The woman who once broke me now sitting in pieces before me. Something inside me softened, but I fought it. Don't try to use my strength as your cure. I'm not, she whispered. I'm just trying not to disappear. Her words lodged in my chest. I took a slow breath. Do you have somewhere to stay? She frowned. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. Yes, she said finally. But it's temporary. Good, I said, forcing calm into my voice. Because pity isn't part of your job description. Her lips curved into a sad smile. You're still the same, pretending not to care. I looked her straight in the eye. You're wrong. I stopped pretending a long time ago, she blinked. Then what do you feel? I didn't answer. I couldn't, she nodded slowly, standing up. I should go. Emily, she turned. Yes, I hesitated. You're right. I don't enjoy watching you fall, her eyes softened. Then what do you feel? Pity, I said quietly. She froze. That's worse than hate. Maybe, I said. But it's honest. She gave a faint, broken smile. Then I guess that's something. When she walked past me, I caught the faint scent of her perfume, the same one from years ago. It brought back memories I didn't want. After she left, I stood there staring at the empty chair. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel revenge. I just felt tired of hating, tired of remembering. Maybe pity was the first step to finally letting go. Jake's knock came mid-morning. There's a visitor waiting for you, he said. Tell them to schedule an appointment. He hesitated. It's Daniel Hayes. The name froze me. Daniel? Jake nodded. He says it's urgent. I straightened my tie. Send him in. A moment later, Daniel walked in. Same expensive suit, but the confidence was gone. His eyes had that desperate glint only failure can carve into a man. Ethan, he said with a forced smile. It's been a while. Not long enough, I replied. He chuckled nervously and sat down without asking. You've done well for yourself. Cole Innovations is everywhere. I can't say the same about Hayes Group. His jaw tightened. You've heard then. Everyone has. He leaned forward. That's why I'm here. I need a partner. Someone solid. Someone like you. I stared at him, letting the silence bite. You need saving. He smirked, pretending it was business. Call it a mutually beneficial opportunity. Mutual? I asked quietly. You walked over me once. What do you bring to my table now, to bankruptcy or betrayal? Come on, Ethan, he said, voice strained. You owe me one. I laughed, cold and low. No, Daniel. You owe me everything, his smile cracked. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I'm enjoying the irony, I said. 3 years ago, you took what wasn't yours and called it ambition. Now you're here asking me for help? He shifted uncomfortably. People change. Yes, I said. But character doesn't. His voice rose. You think you're better than me? I stood, calm and deliberate. No, I just learned from people like you. He clenched his fists, then forced a laugh. You'll regret this. I already did, I said. 3 years ago. He slammed his palm on the desk. You're making a mistake! Maybe, I said, but at least it'll be mine. He glared, then stormed out. The echo of the door shutting was the most satisfying sound I'd heard in years. Jake poked his head in again. Should I blacklist him? No need, I said. His company will do that for us soon. When he left, I leaned back and exhaled. Revenge wasn't sweet, it was quiet, almost sad. Watching him crumble didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. Hours passed. The office emptied. I was finishing some reports when another knock came. Come in, I said without looking up. It was Emily. Her eyes were red, her posture hesitant. Ethan, she whispered. I set the papers down. What happened? You saw him, didn't you? Daniel? She nodded. He told me he was coming here. I begged him not to. I figured as much. She walked closer. He's lost everything. I know, her voice cracked. He deserves it. I studied her face. And you? She swallowed hard. I deserve worse. I stayed silent. She exhaled shakily. I made the worst choice of my life. I warned you once, I said. You just didn't want to listen. Her eyes filled again. I traded love for luxury. I thought comfort meant happiness. And what does it mean now? She wiped her cheeks. It means empty rooms, fake smiles, and nights I couldn't sleep because I kept hearing your voice. I looked away. My voice doesn't matter anymore. It does, she said, because it's the only one that told me the truth. I leaned forward, elbows on the desk. You didn't lose me, Emily, she frowned. What do you mean? You lost yourself. The silence after that felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. Her lip trembled. I keep thinking about the night I left. You just stood there letting me go. Why didn't you stop me? Because you already had, I said. You stopped being mine long before you walked away. She covered her face. I was stupid. No, I said softly. You were scared. And greed hides well inside fear. She dropped her hands and met my eyes. Do you still hate me? I thought about it. No. Then what do you feel? Pity, I admitted. Not because you're broken, but because you never saw what you could have been if you'd stayed. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And what could I have been? The woman I built my life for. Her tears fell fast. I can't change the past. I know. Then why are you still being kind? Because revenge doesn't heal, I said. It just delays the hurt. She let out a shaky laugh. You sound wiser now. Pain has a way of teaching, I replied. For a while, neither of us spoke. The hum of the city outside filled the silence. Finally, she said, What happens now? You keep working, I said. You rebuild just like I did. But don't do it for me. Do it because you still have something left to prove to yourself. She nodded, wiping her eyes. And you? I keep moving forward. She took a deep breath. Ethan, thank you. For what? For not humiliating me. For being better than I was? I looked at her carefully. Being better wasn't the goal. Surviving was, she smiled weakly. Then you did it. I did, I said. Now it's your turn. She turned toward the door. Emily. She looked back. Yes? Don't apologize again unless it's to yourself. Her expression softened. Maybe one day I'll earn that. Maybe, I said quietly. When she left, I sat in the dark office, the sound of her footsteps fading. For the first time, her absence didn't ache. It just felt complete. The news broke on a Monday morning. Jake burst into my office holding his tablet. You're going to want to see this. I glanced up. What now? He handed me the screen. The headline read, Hayes Group under investigation for fraud. I stared at it for a long moment. It finally happened, Jake grinned. Guess karma's got a schedule after all. I handed it back. Keep it out of the office talk, he blinked. You're not going to celebrate? No, I said quietly. I'm done celebrating other people's pain, he hesitated. Still, it must feel good. It feels finished. When he left, I leaned back in my chair. My phone buzzed. A dozen notifications, articles, even an email from a journalist asking for comment. I deleted them all. The truth had done what I never needed to. By noon, the entire building was buzzing. Whispers followed me down the hall, people mentioning Daniel's name, linking it to me, expecting a reaction. I gave them none. Ryan found me in the conference room, sipping coffee. You've seen the news? I have. You're quiet. Would talking make it sweeter? He smirked. You're supposed to be gloating. I used to think I would, I said. But now it just feels empty. Ryan sat across from me. You always were bad at revenge. Maybe I finally got better at letting go. He nodded slowly. So what now? Now, I said. We focus on what's ours. That afternoon, Olivia stopped by with a small smile. The milestone numbers are in. We hit our target 3 months early. I smiled. You sound surprised. I'm impressed, she said. You've built something stable, Ethan. Something real. Not just me, I said. All of you. Her eyes softened. You've changed, hopefully for the better. For the calmer, she said with a teasing smile. That's progress. When she left, I found myself glancing toward Emily's desk. It was empty. She hadn't shown up all day. Around 6, Jake came in again. She dropped something off for you before she left. He placed an envelope on my desk. Did she say anything? I asked. No. Just that you'd understand. When he left, I opened it. It was a note. Short, written in neat, trembling handwriting. Thank you for treating me better than I deserved. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just acceptance. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in the drawer. For a long time, I just sat there, listening to the hum of the air conditioner, the faint buzz of the city outside. The silence didn't hurt anymore. Later that evening, Ryan knocked on my door again. We're ordering dinner. You joining? Not hungry. Liar, he said, stepping in. You've barely eaten since the weekend. I'm fine. You're peaceful, he said, sitting down. That's new, I smiled faintly. I think I'm just done carrying it. Her? He asked. Everything, I said. The anger. The memory. The need to prove anything. He studied me. So it's over? Yes, I said simply. For good, Ryan nodded. Then maybe it's time you start living again. Working isn't living. Not when you've been hiding behind it, I chuckled softly. You sound like Olivia. She's smart, he said. And she cares. I looked out the window. I know, he stood. Then maybe stop pretending you don't notice. When he left, I sat there thinking about his words. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was time to stop surviving and start existing again. The next morning, I arrived earlier than usual. The building felt strangely quiet without Emily's presence. For years, I imagined feeling triumphant if she ever fell. But now, I only felt stillness. Olivia walked in, holding 2 coffees. You look lost, do I? Yeah, she said, setting 1 cup down for me. The kind of loss that comes after winning, I laughed. Is that a thing? It is when the fight defined you. I met her gaze. You're not wrong. I rarely am, she said with a smile. We sat there for a while, watching the sunrise through the glass walls. It painted everything gold, the skyline, the reflection, even the faint scars in me I'd ignored for years. I heard Emily resigned, Olivia said quietly. She did. Are you okay with that? I think she's finally doing what she should have done a long time ago, moving on. And you? I already did, she smiled gently. You really mean that? I do, I said. For the first time, I don't want revenge or closure. I just want peace. Peace looks good on you, she said softly. For a moment, I didn't answer. Then I said, You know, Ryan thinks you're the reason I haven't burned out yet. Her eyes widened slightly. Ryan talks too much. He's right, though. She looked down, hiding a smile. Maybe I just remind you that life doesn't stop at heartbreak. Maybe, I said. Or maybe you just make the silence easier. Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't reply. The day went by quietly. No drama, no ghosts, no reminders. Just work and calm. Two things I used to think couldn't exist together. That night, as I was leaving, I glanced at the drawer again. The note was still there. I took it out, unfolded it one last time and whispered, "Goodbye, Emily." Then I tore it neatly in half and dropped it into the trash. Outside, the city lights shimmered against the night sky. I stood there, breathing in the cool air. For years, I had chased justice disguised as revenge. But karma had done its job without my help. I didn't lift a finger. Truth did it for me. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about her, or the past, or what could have been. I was thinking about what comes next. I never liked public events, but that evening felt different. The city hall glittered under golden lights, filled with laughter and champagne glasses clinking like polite applause. Our company had sponsored the charity auction, and Olivia insisted I attend. "Try to smile tonight," she said, fixing my tie before we walked in. "I'll smile if I survive it," I muttered. She laughed. "You've faced worse. Board meetings, for example. Inside, the music was soft, elegant. People I barely knew shook my hand, praised the company, toasted success. I smiled, nodded, and floated through the crowd like I belonged. But my mind was elsewhere, as always. Then I saw her, Emily. She stood near the far end of the hall, wearing a simple white dress, holding a glass of water. No diamonds, no noise, no pretense, I'm just quiet. For a second, my breath caught. She looked different. Not broken, just human. I told myself to look away, but she noticed me first. Her eyes met mine, and for a heartbeat, time blurred. Then she started walking toward me. "Ethan," she said softly when she reached me. "Emily. It's been a while." 6 months, I said. Not that I was counting. She smiled faintly. "You look happy." "I am. I can see that," she said. "You've changed." "So have you." Her eyes flickered. "I had to," I nodded. "We both did." There was an awkward pause. The orchestra played something slow in the background. "I didn't think I'd see you here," I said. "It's my first time volunteering with the foundation," she replied. "Trying to do something meaningful." "That's good," I said. "You seem calmer." "Peace takes time," she murmured. "You learn it the hard way." I studied her face. The sharpness was gone. The pride, too. What remained was humility and maybe freedom. "You look tired," I said. She laughed softly. "I work 2 jobs now. Keeps me humble." "I never thought I'd hear you say that." "Me neither," she said. "But losing everything has a strange way of resetting what matters." I hesitated, then asked, "Are you okay?" She smiled, small, genuine. "For the first time, yes." That silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It just was. She took a deep breath. "Ethan, I need to say something," I nodded. "Go on." "I don't want to apologize again," she said. "I just want to thank you. Not for forgiving me, but for letting me remember what decency looks like." Her words hit deeper than I expected. "You don't owe me anything," I said. "I owe you honesty," she whispered. "You were right. I didn't lose you, I lost myself. But I'm finding her again." I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. She smiled faintly. "I heard about your expansion. Congratulations." "Thank you. You deserve every bit of it." For once, her tone held no envy. "Just sincerity." I took a slow breath. "You seem lighter." "Because I stopped running," she said. "From guilt, from you, from everything. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to face what hurt us." "You faced it?" I said. She nodded. "And you conquered it." "I didn't conquer anything," I said quietly. "I just stopped fighting." Her eyes softened. "That's still victory." The MC's voice echoed through the hall, announcing the next segment. Around us, people applauded. But in that moment, it felt like the world had gone still. Emily looked down at her hands, then back at me. "You really look happy, Ethan." "I am," I said again. "Truly. She nodded, swallowing. Then I hope you find someone who never makes you feel like you weren't enough. I froze. It wasn't just a kind wish, it was closure. I smiled faintly. Maybe I already have. Her eyes flickered with understanding. Olivia? Maybe, I said. It's too early to say. She's good for you, Emily said softly. I can see it. I think she is, I admitted. She makes the silence feel like peace, not loneliness. That's rare, she said. It is. For a moment, we just stood there, two people who had once loved, lost, and finally learned how to breathe again. She extended her hand. Goodbye, Ethan. I looked at her hand for a moment before taking it. Her grip was steady. Goodbye, Emily, I said. Her smile was small but real. Take care of yourself. I will. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to follow. Olivia appeared beside me, holding 2 glasses of wine. You okay? I nodded. Better than I expected. She looked around. Was that? Yeah, I said. That was her. Olivia studied me quietly. How do you feel? Lighter, she smiled. Good, you deserve that, I raised my glass. To peace? To beginnings, she said, clinking hers against mine. We watched the crowd together. Laughter, music, life happening without ghosts. You know, Olivia said, I used to think healing was dramatic, like fireworks or big speeches. And now? I asked. Now I think it's quiet, she said. Like this, I smiled. Then maybe I'm finally healing. She looked at me, her eyes warm. You already have. The night carried on, soft and golden. I didn't think about the past or what it had taken from me. I just breathed, one calm breath after another. Forgiveness wasn't loud. It didn't need words. It just happened when the heart stopped trying to win. As I looked across the room, the world felt new again. Emily had found peace. So had I. Maybe that's what moving on truly is. Not forgetting, but remembering without pain. And for the first time in years, I was ready for tomorrow. Ryan leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen against the table. You realize this makes you officially boring, right? I looked up from my laptop. Boring? Yeah, he said. No scandals, no drama, no exes showing up to destroy your week. You've become one of those peaceful people. I smiled. Maybe peace isn't so bad, he laughed. You say that now. Wait until you start meditating or drinking green smoothies. I already do both, I said. He groaned. God, you've changed. I leaned back, smirking. That's the point, isn't it? Yeah, he said softly. It is. We sat in the conference room, sunlight spilling across the table. Cole Innovations had just hit another record, 3 new partnerships, a growing team, and a future that finally felt solid. Ryan whistled. Remember when this used to be 2 guys in a coffee-stained dream? I remember, I said. I also remember being broke and terrified. He grinned. And now you're the guy people want to be. I shook my head. No, I'm just the guy who didn't stop. He raised his cup. To that. We clinked coffee mugs like old friends who'd survived a war. After the meeting, I walked through the office, watching my employees, laughing, arguing, creating. It used to be just noise to me, but now it sounded like life. Olivia appeared beside me, holding her tablet. You're smiling again. Am I? Yes, it's rare. I almost called security, I chuckled. Funny. She walked with me toward the window. Ryan says you're planning to take a break. I am, I said. A few weeks off. Maybe travel. Clear my head. You've earned it, she said. You sound surprised. I'm just not used to seeing you rest, she said. You were built for chaos. Maybe I was, I said, but I'm learning to enjoy the quiet. She smiled. That's growth. I looked at her, really looked at her. She was calm, confident, steady. She reminded me of what I'd been chasing all along. Not perfection, just peace. You know, I said, if someone told me 5 years ago that I'd find happiness through silence, I'd have laughed. What changed? She asked. Everything, I said. I used to believe revenge would fix me, but all it did was keep me tied to the past. She tilted her head. And now? Now, I said, I just want to live. She smiled. You finally sound like it, I nodded. It took long enough. Later that afternoon, I sat alone in my office, staring at the city skyline. I thought about Emily, about Daniel, about the boy I used to be, desperate for validation, starving for love, addicted to proving people wrong. Ryan knocked lightly. "You good?" "Yeah," he stepped in. "You look like you're writing a memoir." "Just thinking," I said. "Dangerous habit." I smiled. "Maybe, but sometimes you need to look back to understand what you've become." He leaned against the wall. "So what do you see when you look back?" I paused. "A mess. A man who broke, rebuilt, and learned that strength isn't about pride. It's about peace." Ryan nodded slowly. "That sounds like closure." "It is," I said. "Finally," he grinned. "Then here's to the man you became." I raised an imaginary glass. "And to the friends who helped him get there." He laughed. "You're getting sentimental, boss." "Maybe I'm allowed," I said. After he left, I opened my drawer, the one that used to hold Emily's note. It was empty now. I'd thrown it away months ago, but the act still lingered like a small ritual of release. My phone buzzed. "A text from Olivia, charity dinner tomorrow. Don't disappear this time," I smiled. "I'll be there." That night, I walked through my apartment, quiet, clean, filled with soft light. There were no reminders of the past, no ghosts in the corners, no perfume that refused to fade. I made myself coffee, leaned against the balcony railing, and watched the city glow. The world was still chaotic, but I wasn't. When my phone rang, I answered. "Ryan?" "No," came Olivia's voice. "Checking if you're actually resting." "I am." "Kind of." "Liar," she said, laughing. "You're thinking again. Just reflecting." "About her?" "About me," I said. "About who I was and who I became." "That's progress," she said softly. "I think so." "You know," she continued, "most people never really get over their past. They just bury it." "I buried it," I said. "Then I built something over the grave." "That's poetic." "It's true." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You seem happy, Ethan?" "I am," I said. "Not because everything worked out, but because I finally stopped trying to control how it should have." "That's wisdom." "It's exhaustion," I said, smiling. She laughed. "Same thing sometimes." When the call ended, I sat there for a long while, listening to the hum of the city. I thought about the journey, the heartbreak, the anger, the climb, the endless nights of doubt. All of it had led here, to a life I hadn't planned but had earned. I whispered to the night, "I'm not the man she left," and I meant it. Emily's chapter had closed quietly without grand goodbyes or apologies. Daniel's arrogance had burned itself out. And I, the man who once thought love was the only proof of worth, had learned that peace was stronger. A knock pulled me from my thoughts. When I opened the door, Olivia stood there holding a box. "Late delivery?" I asked. She smiled. "Celebration cake." Ryan insisted. I chuckled. "He would?" She handed it to me. "He also said you'd forget to eat again." "He knows me too well." She looked around my apartment. "It's peaceful here. That's the idea. You built this life from ashes," she said quietly. "That's something." I looked at her, her sincerity disarming. "Maybe, but I couldn't have done it alone," she smiled. "You didn't. You just had to learn to accept help." We stood there for a moment, silence comfortable. "Stay for coffee?" I asked. She nodded. "Only if you promise not to talk about work." "I'll try." We sat on the balcony, 2 mugs between us, the city alive below. The wind carried faint music from somewhere, a reminder that life kept moving. Olivia glanced at me. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "Every time you talk about your past, your voice gets softer." "Because it doesn't hurt anymore," I said. "It's just a story now." "And what's the ending?" she asked. I smiled. "That I became someone I can finally respect." She raised her mug. "To that." We drank quietly, the air cool and still. As the night stretched on, I realized I didn't need revenge, validation, or closure anymore. The world didn't owe me balance. I had created my own. I'd spent years chasing success to prove something. Now I just wanted to live it. Looking out at the horizon, I whispered, Thank you for leaving, Emily. Because without that pain, I wouldn't have become this man. Not the man she left, the man I became because she did. And that, finally, was enough.